Is your business your retirement plan? Too many business owners I talk to are counting on the sale of their business to fund their retirement without understanding what their business might actually be worth. They often have even less of an understanding of what drives value and sale price. Now, the most obvious factor in a business's value is profitability, but that is not the only important factor. The other most important factor is your company's ability to continue being profitable at that level without you. And the number one misconception about your value is your business's potential. Potential can be considered in certain ultra-high growth industries, typically technology related, where buyers are generally gamblers or speculators. But for the typical business, potential isn't worth a lot because it is more of an opinion, yours, and you can't borrow money to buy a business with potential. Now, there are three common factors that tend to have the most influence on the value of your business: free cash flow, reliance on the owner, and your industry and client mix together. Now, free cash flow. First thing they will look at is the obvious of how much cash the business is creating for the new owners to be able to pay themselves and any debt they incur. They call this seller's discretionary earnings, or SDE. And it's the sum of EBITDA, that's a mouthful, that's earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. Then you add back in the owner's salary and other expenses that are paid by the company on behalf of the owner, like cell phones, vehicles, travel, etc. This provides the buyer with a true picture of the business's ability to pay their bills and make a good living for them. They look at these numbers over the past 2 to 3 years to see if the business results are constantly improving or have been stagnant or even worse, declining. Now that's the easy one, and too often business owners think that this is all anyone cares about, when in reality the next two factors are possibly even more important, as they represent the likelihood that the new owner can get the same results with the business that you did. So the second factor, reliance on the owner. Next thing they'll look at is whether the business is likely to continue performing at the current level without the current owner or owners. How much do sales depend on the owner being a top salesperson? How many clients are only still there because of long-term personal relationships with the owner that is now leaving? Does production lie in the owner's knowledge and experience for consistent and on-time delivery? How many key staff are likely to think about leaving or retiring themselves with the owner? Who really runs your company and drives the results? If it's still you, then your value could be significantly diminished. This is the number one factor that owners overlook and even misunderstand about their own company. Now, the third factor is your industry and client mix. It's a combination of those two factors. So let's look at client diversity first. And that is looking at the percentage of your revenues and profits that come from your top 3 clients. What you need to realize is that when there is a change of hands to an outside buyer in particular, clients often revisit the competitive marketplace and sometimes shop around to the competition. What would happen to your free cash flow, your earnings, your profit, if your biggest client with 25 to 30% of your revenue went somewhere else after the sale because you weren't there anymore? This is where your industry can have an impact on this factor. Is there a lot of competition? Are you a commodity producer or seller that can be easily replaced? Is your industry one with a high cost of entry? It costs a lot of money to get in your industry, or could anyone start a competing business at very little cost? These are all factors. And remember, just like the warnings when buying stocks, past performance is not necessarily a good indicator of future performance. The income or revenue multiplier that your buyer is going to be willing to pay is going to be based on an assessment of future performance of the business after you leave. Now, if you'd like to know how ready your business is for the most profitable sale possible, go ahead and click on the link in the description to schedule a quick 15-20 minute chat to see if it makes sense to perform a sale readiness analysis of your entire business operations using ABOSS, the ActionCOACH Business Operating System.